What's up, everybody? It's Alex from Heavy New York. We are at the Kingsland in Brooklyn, and today we are here with Wino of The Obsessed. Thank you for being here, man.
My pleasure.
Yeah, it's always great to see you in New York, and, you know, whether it's with The Obsessed or your solo stuff, you always know how to throw a good party.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think it's a very receptive audience.
Yeah, exactly. It's New York. We bring it.
New York, man.
Yep.
Special place.
Exactly. The first question I wanted to ask you is, being such a prolific artist, I believe I asked this last time, but with all the projects you've been involved in, whether it was The Obsessed or Saint Vitus or even your solo stuff, are you in a completely different state of mind depending on the projects you work with, or is there like a usual mode you have in songwriting together?
I mean, I think it's a little bit of a different state of mind because of just because of the vibe of the band. But lately, man, I've been able to push all my efforts just towards The Obsessed and play some acoustic stuff too. In Vitus, I didn't really write very much. I wrote some occasional lyrics. Occasionally, Dave would ask me to write, some filler stuff like When Emotion Dies or Vertigo. But mainly with Vitus, I just sang his stuff, and that's why. And a couple records I wasn't into, so yeah. I didn't do them. But as far as The Obsessed goes, I mean, the Shrine Builder show was pretty amazing because we all brought ideas to the table. And so basically, like almost every song, I think every song was a 4-person effort, so it's pretty interesting. The Hidden Hand, of course, Bruce had his, the bass player he wrote and sang, and so that was pretty cool. I mean, I like it when there's another influence, another writing influence in there. I think it's amazing, and that's like why this lineup, The Obsessed, I think is like my favorite so far because, and we can Brian's really super talented, and we've been writing. We finally get a chance to write. He lives local, and so we finally get a chance to write some songs. So now, I'm like feeling good about stuff because the new record is like about halfway written.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
awesome. It's funny because songwriting to me, from what I've studied, it's a completely separate talent and strategy than just knowing how to play music live. When you're like in the studio in songwriting mode versus like playing like on stage, is that a completely different method of execution as well?
It's a different environment. It's my favorite environment, really, to just be in the studio. You got some dough to record, and you can take your time and do things right. Get a good studio. It's like a good engineer like Frank. I mean, I think your possibilities are endless. But, writing a song is like what I consider the divine inspiration is when you get the idea for the whole song, the theme, and then the music and the lyrics come right away. You get the whole song down like in a day, like when suddenly you get the riff, and then you've already got the theme to it, and then now you've got the lyrics. That's the divine inspiration. Usually with me, it takes a while to kind of fill the lyrics out. Like I'll be fine-tuning the lyrics as we go. I might even be fine-tuning the lyrics in the studio. You never know. Last couple lines. Mm-hmm. It has to. The lyrics are important to me, man. They have to be right, and I think that the music is sort of like the universal language, but you got to have the text.
Exactly. So, do you need to like hear music to come up with lyrics, or do you sometimes have like a story that you want to tell, and that helps determine the music? It's
usually a story. I mean, I don't really use any musical basis really for the lyrics, although you have to make them fit usually to the piece. We wrote a new song recently where it doesn't have a solo and it doesn't rhyme, and I think that it came out really good. It came out natural, and I don't think it sounds strange, but yeah, there's some different formulas. Like I like to be a little bit more ambiguous about stuff sometimes when I'm writing, and use descriptive terms instead of always coming back to the cliche,
Yeah. Well, it's funny because does the source of inspiration for either lyrics or music come from an internal source, or are you looking outwards in order to come up with something?
Well, I think we all absorb a lot, obviously. Everybody absorbs, their surroundings, and if you're an artist, you sort of take from what you see, for sure. I mean, I like looking at art. I'll go to art museums, all day long if I had the time, and it's I love going to like galleries, see painting stuff, but mainly, man, it's like it's what you experience in life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But what I experience in life is really what my songs are about. And my daughter, she's pretty young. I think she's 10. I think, and she asked me. I was telling her about songwriting, and she didn't really grasp it. I said, well, it's what you see in your daily life. How you feel, what you see, those thoughts, those images are like poetry to music. It's the best way to be. So, yeah. But like Zappa was, he's like always about when he soloed, it'd be like sculpting or painting orally, sound, which I think is an amazing concept.
Yeah. And you mentioned you have to also make the lyrics fit. I mean, nothing could be more heartbreaking than having the perfect lyrics and seeing how they just go like one syllable over like the arrangement of the song.
Right.
I'd imagine that's happened.
It's wild, man. Phrasing is bizarre. I mean, like Rocky Erickson, he's got a strange way he phrases. You know, he crams a lot of words in there. Gets in there. Manson was the same thing. I listened to some Manson acoustic recently. I was like, wow, man, he's getting a lot of words in there. But phrasing, like I kind of think Ozzy, the early Sabbath, and Free, some of those bands like that was where I kind of picked up a little bit more of my vocal delivery style.
Yeah, definitely. Now, when it comes to executing your material live, because I've always thought that seeing you live is a very different experience than just listening to your music like on my phone. Do you try to execute the material exactly how you make it on the album, or do you like to maybe make the live presence a little bit different?
Well, there's only a few leads that I actually charted out in the studio and play like note for note. Like usually the leads are mostly improvisational, although I'll stick to some of the same. Some of the same parts here and there to start it or end sometimes on the leads. But, we usually play it pretty straight. In the studio, I believe that you should use the studio. So I'm not opposed to putting a couple fat rhythms down, enhancing that with some backing tracks. I'm not opposed to that at all. That's what the studio is for. Some people are real sticklers about it, the early Vitus, the first record, that they did it all live, just the power trio with Scott with the singer, and that was it. But, I think this... Man, your record's gonna sound better if you can make it sound as good as possible. A couple fat rhythms,
Yeah, definitely. And I like to ask this question because it's always the hardest for every artist I've ever interviewed. How do you know when a song is done?
When it's born.
That's the best answer I think I've ever gotten.
When the song is born, you know it's born, man. You know it's born when it's finished. You just get that feeling. And I can tell you a funny story about a song being born. That's so. And in the '90s, we just got signed to Columbia, and we got our money, we got our advance. So we got all this gear, like brand new gear. Like we rehearsed in the corner of Hollywood and Santa Monica, Western and Santa Monica. This big old building that was like it had a bar and pool hall on the bottom, and it was like this big old really super cool looking not avant-garde, but what was that one period? It had the really strange, it was strangely modern. I can't remember the name of the period right now, but anyways, old LA architecture. Had about 1 million rooms, and you could lock out rooms for 24-hour lockouts. So you lock out rooms by the month, and you weren't supposed to live there, but people could. But I remember I could go in there anytime, day or night. So we just got our gear. So I had 4 cabinets, 4 Marshall cabinets, 2 Model Ts. I think I had some 215s too that I was driving to. So this huge wall of shit set up, and I think that. We got up, we rehearsed, and then we went out as a band, saw another band, and just did some band stuff. Then I went back to my pad, and then I slunk out at about 1 a.m., 2 a.m., back to the rehearsal space for working my songs, I've been working on Yen Sleep, and there's this little riser in the room, so I decided, fuck it, I almost had it, I was so close, so I just fucking said, I'm going to play it all the way through really nice. I just fucking had my shit redlined, a lot of power. I remember that I was a little bit tired, though, so when I finished the song, I was just like, oh, that's so great. I remember I just leaned back on the drum riser and fell asleep with my guitar wide open. Dude, when I woke up, it was just going, the whole fucking building felt like it's shaking, I don't know how long it had been going on like that. I think maybe half an hour. But I was just like, oh, yeah, I was so happy I finished that song. I was just leaned back in the riser. And the next thing you know, I woke up with my girl fucking shrieking, man,
Yeah.
Pretty crazy, man. But That's it. That's
With guitar soloing, are you is there a theoretical element that you follow? I have to work off of this scale or in this chord progression, or is it improvised?
I don't know theory all that well. I do have some certain scales that I play. I play a lot of pentatonic stuff, and I guess I sort of have kind of a bluesy style. I think maybe influenced a little bit, but I like to always grow. I can't really tell you what I'm playing. Sometimes I'm playing scales, but I do like to play scales. I'm really fond of the more Indian sounding one. I like to mix Lydian. I like harmonic minor and stuff like that. I'm not saying that I could pull off, structurally or whatever, perfection in those realms, but it really, to me, it's all about the power of the song. It's the power of the song. Yeah. It's whatever the sum of all parts go into the song, but it really is just the overall power of the song. Sometimes the song doesn't need a lead. Yeah. Sometimes the song doesn't need vocals or whatever it might be. Yeah.
Well, my guitar teacher that I had as a kid told me the best way to remember all those scales, like Locrian, Mixolydian, he told me this term: I don't particularly like midgets attacking ladies. So Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian, Locrian. That was the best way I was able to memorize it.
Did you learn that stuff?
Yep, I learned it.
A scale, one of those scales in a certain key becomes another scale in another key, right?
Yeah. So exactly.
There's something to be said for the guitar. There's only 12 notes, right, in Western music.
think so.
And like so they just repeat themselves in boxes and stuff and patterns. When I started unlocking a little bit, I noticed that there's patterns and everything. Like, even if it's the chicken picking stuff, there's always a pattern like a whole step, half step, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they repeat themselves, and it's cool. Explaining someone like a younger person the theory of key, what key is can sometimes be challenging. I mean, I guess it defines as like the dominant note in a riff or whatever. I guess determines the key, but sometimes it's a little abstract to explain.
Yeah, well, I've always was able to determine the key. Like, obviously the Skid Row song "18 in Life," right? That's in the same key as the theme music from the Terminator. That's how I was able to figure out the key of that song. So.
Right. But how would you describe key?
All right, you got me there.
Well, I mean, it's too tricky, right?
Yeah. And I have two more questions for you, if that's cool. You said that you're about halfway done with some new music now. Is the new Obsessed record supposed to be kind of like a direct follow-up to Sacred, or do you think that this new record's going to stand out?
It's going to stand out. I mean, we know it has to be as good or as better than Sacred, and same as we knew that Sacred had to be as good or better than The Church Within. But I think it will be. I think it's going to be darker. I think it's going to be heavier as far as some downtuning goes. It's going to be all new songs. Well, maybe we might do one or two. We have so much stuff in the back catalog that we'd like to redo professionally, or we would like to just do period that we never have done. And so I think we're going to have just like we redid Shot Jackal. I think we're going to redo one more older one, and then the rest will be new songs. But we're down tuning a lot, man. There's songs in like a deep tuning, and it's just the way it's coming out,
Awesome. I'm looking forward to hearing
Right
it.
on.
And the final question is, you brought out the Strat, as we could see. So you want to give a rundown on what makes this your guitar choice?
Right. This is not really my guitar choice, but this particular guitar I'm having a major love affair with. This is she's named La Hechicera, which is the sorceress. But this guitar I got from this lady I know. Her father passed on, and she had a couple of really interesting pieces. One was this Guild acoustic, which I bought. The other one was this guitar. Now, this is an old body. It's just got a thin layer of nitrocellulose paint. You can tell how thin it is, and a tiny layer of primer. And I'm like gradually scraping it off with my pick. Eventually I'm gonna just sand it down. But it's got the sluttiest neck in the world, dude. I mean, a ultra slutty neck, which is a Japanese Strat neck, I do believe. I mean, so the combination of the ultra slutty neck and like the super cool old body, and then I found a triad of a matched triad of the original Hot Rails. And they're like the first quarter pounders. Like basically they're humbuckers in certain positions. I've got a 5-position switch, so I can get the different combinations, and the tone control or custom wired so that I can get a little tone. I can roll the tone off the treble if I need to. And but this guitar sounds it's like picking up a bomb, man. I love it. It's bad. I mean, I think it sounds as heavy as my other guitars. There's a little bit of dissent. I mean, not dissent. There's a little bit of a dispute about that within our camp, but I like this guitar, man.
Yeah, no, it looks beautiful. It has that great road worn effect to it, and that
I'm slowly but surely kind of scraping it off,
Yeah, exactly. So, Wino, I want to thank you so much for your time today.
Welcome,
it's always great to see you, everybody. We are here with Wino of The Obsessed. New music coming very soon. This is Alex from Heavy New York, and we'll see you next time.